So today's April 5th, 2025. I've been thinking a lot about intactivism and how things I used to do. I used to do a lot more for intactivism than I do now, although I'm still pretty active, more than I was a couple years ago during the lockdown. But a few years back, back in 2014, there was a feminist campaign that came out, and I stole the hashtag. I I totally stole the hashtag. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about this. There was an article written about me in a men's rights magazine in the UK that found out about me through my campaign. And while I read it to you, I'm going to play a video I made. It's up on my YouTube channel of some of the pictures that I collected during stealing this hashtag. So let me read this. I might start the video twice because I don't know how long it is, but we'll see how it goes. Oops. There we go. I got too many devices going on. Anyways, so how did a women's equality campaign get turned into a social media movement against male circumcision? Earlier this month, Cynthia Maloney, this was a while ago, this was 10 years ago, 48-year-old of 2 from Massachusetts, started a social media craze that has seen women all over the internet publicly supporting the global campaign to end unnecessary male circumcision. She didn't plan it. In fact, this online phenomenon was so spontaneous that Cynthia was still in her pajamas when it kicked off. The morning I was called into action, I wasn't really thinking, she told Inside Man magazine. All I knew was that I saw red when I saw a picture of a young woman holding a sign. The picture that stoked Cynthia's anger came from the news site Elite Daily, which asked 12 of its female staff what they would do differently if they were men, and posted photographs of women holding their answers alongside the hashtag "if I were a boy." The young women's responses were a list of personal grievances against men, including, "If I were a boy, I would treat girls as humans that should be respected. If I were a boy, I'd educate myself about feminism. If I were a boy, I'd keep my hands to myself. If I were a boy, I'd never tell a woman to smile. If I were a boy, I'd be courteous and remember to pull down the seat." But it wasn't these messages that caused Cynthia to leap out of bed, but the words of a woman holding up a sign that said, "If I were a boy, I'd be able to make choices about my own body." As an intactivist, a campaigner against male circumcision, and other genital mutilation, Cynthia was instantly struck by this absurdity of making such a statement in a country where routine infant circumcision is still prevalent. It really speaks to how blind the American culture is to the forced genital cutting of infant boys, said Cynthia. The same women who are complaining about not having choices are handing over their own sons to have their genitals amputated. Cynthia knew without thinking that she had to take action, and hastily scribbled down her own message and posted it on the Elite Daily website. Without pausing to breathe, she began to encourage others to do the same, and before she knew it, the internet was flooded with pictures of women holding placards and messages like this: "If I were a boy, I would have been strapped down to a board and raped with a knife. 27 years ago, my outrage at this violation would have been ridiculed. Instead of enjoying sex as nature intended, I would be missing the most sensitive part of my penis. Hashtag boys deserve better. Hashtag genital cutting is not a parental right." Cynthia is overwhelmed by this response and convinced it can make a difference. It's raising awareness, she told us. People see it in their news feeds with their morning coffee. It's about sparking conversations. We need to talk more about the truth. We need to talk more about it. The more we talk about it, the truth will be exposed to light. Once it's seen, it can't be unseen. It will soon be socially unacceptable to take a knife to the genitals of all babies, male, females, and intersex. Cynthia has always believed that circumcision is wrong and is committed to ending the practice forever. "I knew the difference between intact and cut sex, and I knew intact sex was better," she said. "I also knew from working with babies that there was a drastic difference in their personalities before and after circumcision. But it wasn't until I really started researching that I found out just how dark and twisted the whole thing is. Cynthia believes that the practice of forced genital cutting in America has changed the nation's psyche. No one escapes the harm in a cutting culture, she said. Primarily it's men who've been cut, but the women are so brainwashed to pass over their sons without question. Intact men suffer from these women's ignorance about the natural male anatomy. Every time a woman says, gross, I would never have sex with an uncut guy, it's abusive, it perpetuates violence against our newborn sons. Once I started learning, I couldn't stop speaking out. As we stay silent, more babies are violated. More men live in silent struggles, afraid to speak about the violent sexual assault that they experienced as an infant. I have to do everything I can to stop this. One of the unusual twists in this extraordinary story is some men's rights activists have joined in the If I Were a Boy conversation online, seeing it as an opportunity to challenge and ridicule the original campaign with its feminist sensibilities. Some recent tweets carrying the If I Were a Boy hashtag included, if I were a boy, being raped by a woman would be called a rite of passage, not rape. If I were a boy, I'd learn that feminism means all people are equal, but women are more equal than men. If I were a boy, I'd be accused of being a sexist member of a patriarchal rape culture just because of my gender, by hashtag feminism. For intactivists like Cynthia, circumcision is not a question of feminism versus anti-feminism. We need to stop the gender wars on both sides, she said. We're all human. If your fellow human is being violated, we need to step in and help them. It's time we started treating humans humanely. You can find out more about the If I Were a Boy initiative at Intact News, Tumblr, and Google. I also posted all these pictures up on hold on, I just lost my track of thought. I also, I have it up on Pinterest. I just found it. This is my picture going by right here. That was the one that sparked it. So after this all happened, this couple years later, they came up with the Me Too campaign. And it was more divisive at that point. This I was able to latch onto and run with. And I think I could have probably latched on and run with the Me Too campaign because honestly, I have never experienced sexual abuse the same way that a baby has been during a circumcision. That is not something in my history whatsoever. And it is worse than rape. I'm telling you right now, it is worse than rape. It's not just rape. It's rape with a knife that permanently changes you. It takes away part of your pleasure. It takes away part of your function. So, yeah, this campaign here was pretty big at the time, and it really took off hugely. When Facebook took down my page, I assume they took down this page. I've actually tried to find it again, and it's been tough. You find these pictures on Know Your Meme, Pinterest. I think I'm still up on Tumblr, although I haven't logged into my Tumblr account in a long, long time. But yeah, when the Me Too campaign came out, there was a couple people in my life that really came at me with the Me Too campaign. They just really stepped all over me after I posted. I've never experienced something as bad as this. And it kind of shut me up, although, just because they were close people. But, yeah, it's way worse than just rape. It's way worse than just rape, and it's happening to the vast majority of men in America when they're too little to consent, resist, or escape. And that's why when the Me Too movement came out, the hashtag Men2 came out as well. We have to stop dividing people by sex, by color, by gender, by all of these stupid things. We're so divided right now. Divide and conquer. Classic divide and conquer. That's exactly what's happened here in the past 15 years in America. is still going strong, this divide and conquer nonsense. But so yeah, these are all the women that participated in this, and it's still going. I read the whole article, and it's still going on. That's Jonathan Conte. He committed suicide. He was a very active activist, and he actually helped me with this campaign. He actually did help me with it. I'm going to start it over, just to have it going in the background for a minute longer. But yeah, Jonathan Conte, look him up, Jonathan Conte, Intactivist. You'll find him very easily. He was in the movie American Circumcision. He tried to talk to his mother. She didn't validate his concerns whatsoever. He did everything he could to stop the genital cutting of boys, baby boys, and then he slowly, quietly killed himself, and it was heartbreaking. It was absolutely devastating. I knew him in real life. So he's not the only intactivist I know that ended up dead of suicide or drug overdose. There's another one, Parrish, I forget his last name. He just died of a drug overdose, and on the back of his door, he said, if you are my friend, then you need to watch Eric Klopper's American Circumcision, an American Love Story on YouTube. He's like, if anything ever happens to me, the way you can honor me is to watch that. So his dying wish was that people watch Eric Klopper. You can find him very easily. Eric Klopper is actually doing a lot of good work again right now with the intactivism. I missed DC this year, so that's kind of bumming me out. Last week I had the opportunity to go to DC and I couldn't pull it off. But yeah, there's another man that I know in real life, Ken Nero. He was a grandfather of a baby boy he couldn't save. He did everything in his power to try and save this baby from the genital mutilation, and his son and daughter-in-law just kind of laughed at him, and it hurt him so deeply. A couple of years later, he was dead, and it is suspected that he was a suicide as well. So, these are pains. These men are feeling pain, like permanent, forever pain. And you're saying, oh, I never heard a man complain. Oh, everybody does it. Oh, it was so disgusting if you... Like, shut the fuck up. Seriously, shut the fuck up. It's time we treat men and boys like human beings again. End of rant. Love you all. Take care. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, do the thing. Bye.